Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Bad Hombre Garage. Okay, so for some of you who might just be joining this series for the first time, this is my daughter's car, 1971 Volkswagen Beetle. Well, the way we bought it, it had been set up to be a Baja race car style desert racing car. So it had been lifted, front and rear suspension, taller tires on it, and the inside was kind of garbage, but the outside looked pretty good. So we decided to make this her car, and she's been really busy on the inside, just killing it in here, working on getting her carpet laid in here and sorted out. Of course, she has school and sports and everything else going on, so she's busy. But while she's been doing that, if you missed it, I'll put a little link up there. We did brakes. What else did we do? We also did the prep on some rust repair in the back. But today, the goal here is to put this or get this all prepped up to go into the car. And I'd really like to get moving on this. Okay, so this is where some of my friends, my Volkswagen experts, are probably going to have to help figure out some of this. Like, for example, I've been fiddling, trying to figure out how all the tin fits in there. I don't know if it all does. It should, but anyway, that's not the problem I want to solve. I want to put this engine in the car. But here's what I'm dealing with. I want to get rid of this old muffler and stock style exhaust setup for the most part. In order to do that, I did get a real nice header with the J-tubes, which I'm not going to use. But I got a real nice header to go on there. But here's my thing. I want to retain the heat channels for this thing because this is going to be my daughter's car. I would like for the heat channels to be able to tie in their stock locations up there and then make all our levers and pulleys and everything work so that we actually have defrost and heat in the car. Now, I've heard from my friends and everybody who had these Volkswagens back in the day, the one thing they say is that the heat doesn't work very well. I believe it. I mean, I don't know how it can work that great, but we do live in Colorado, and I'd like for her to be able to drive this thing through the winter. You know, maybe not in the big snow, but it's going to be cold, and she's going to want to drive it and want some heat. So, hey, tell me, put a comment down below. Those of you who have had Volkswagens and actually driven them, maybe back in the day when these things were new, tell me, is the heat absolutely worthless? Am I wasting my time trying to get it going? By the time I read the comments, I'll probably have already gone through this experiment, but I do appreciate you guys letting me know because we might have to go back and change some things. So if you're unfamiliar, like I was, with how this all works, obviously air-cooled engine, no water to run a heater, so air-cooled. They use the heat off of the engine to heat the car by routing it down. Being blown from the fan inside the shroud here, out these ports, down through these ports. It's missing the clamp here. We're not going to worry about that right now. Through these channels, heat channels, both sides, and out towards the car where I showed you they go in by the engine. And it's got these little flappers in here, which you can see open up and close the routing of air into the car or not. And it has two little levers next to the parking brake that work these flappers to make them work. So I want to keep these exhaust heater channels on the car, but I want to run a decent header for a little bit of performance, and so I can just run a regular muffler on the thing. I just don't want to run the old Beetle muffler. So I was surfing around a little bit on the old interwebs and discovered that some people have made this happen by doing a little bit of modification on the exhaust here, using this portion of the back, but getting rid of this in the front. And I think I might be able to do that on my headers, but I'm going to need your help figuring it out. Okay, so I've been analyzing this situation with this engine, and I think this is going to work to use my aftermarket header on here and tie it in to the stock heater box J-tube part for the back. The way I'll do that is I'm just going to eliminate these little guys right here that capture this little bit of heating off these tubes, and just run my hose from the fan from the doghouse up here around my header and down and go straight into this bottom portion. I think I can do that. Now, here's where my dilemma is now, where I've been kind of sorting this out a little bit. And that is my heat riser here for the intake manifold. And I'm going to get you a little closer here. What I'm talking about is where this heat riser for the intake manifold bolts onto the exhaust on each side. And it runs up through this portion of the intake and through to the other side. Now this doesn't connect with air into the intake tube. It's just connected next to it here. It just uses its, I guess, radiant heat as exhaust heat runs up through here to keep this intake warm enough that this thing will continue to run smooth, idle smooth, all that good stuff. And there's a little science behind it. Again, these Germans kind of had their act together when they're designing this. You notice this side comes off of the header or the exhaust tube right out of the head, okay? And then this side comes down through this tube, which goes around and comes in on the muffler right here. And I guess that's by design, where this is probably gonna see positive pressure pushing this direction. And this is seeing a negative pressure. This is seeing a draw as the exhaust is coming out. So if I wanted to replicate that on my header, first off, I'd have to repair these. This is what happens when you buy stuff on Facebook Marketplace. This is what you end up with. That's broken off on both sides. And that's okay because all that was a mount. They're not drilled through. That was just a mount to hold the heat riser in place. It wasn't actually doing any heat rising. And I want this car to run. Don't get me wrong, I want it to run well, but I also want it to run idle smooth, start every time, because it's gonna be my daughter's car. So I've got a plan. I think a guy could pretty easily modify this heat riser setup where maybe we do just like this, except I drill that hole out in the header, where it mounts up, goes through, and to get the flow and negative pressure out the other side, this side I would have to do the same idea as that tube. Instead of pulling right off of here, come pull further down on the header somewhere, down in here or something, where the flow is going out and would create a negative pressure. Down here, I'd be ideal. Now, I got a few things to consider. Not the most important, but one of them is, this is, I think, like a ceramic coated deal, and it's gonna get messed up because I'm gonna have to grind that off. I'm gonna have to do some welding. And the same thing to get my flanges to bolt up on the bottom. The J-tubes that came with those headers are really good, but they're bolt-up style. They're not the slip-on with a clamp. So I'm going to build some bracket like that, weld it onto there, if it all lines up. The second issue is what I alluded to just now, is if it lines up. I've done a little bit of measuring on each side, and I think it should just about hit right there. But the only real way to figure this out is to tear it apart. I'm going to tear it down. I have new gaskets. I have new intake gaskets, so I'm going to want to replace those. And while I'm at it, I'll check this heat riser tube to make sure that it's clear, because those can get carboned up. And if that thing isn't clear, then all of this work to make that function is going to be in vain. So I'm going to crank up some music on the old speaker, start disassembling things, and try to get into this exhaust. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I busted all the bolts loose, well, that I could. Some of these, go figure, are rusted. It's trying to turn the stud. That's going to be a pain. Probably going to use some heat to get those out. I didn't pull the intake all the way off because to do so, I got to get the generator and the doghouse, and that's a bunch of stuff I'm trying not to do. But I moved it over enough that now we can test to see if this thing is clear. Hopefully it is, so we don't have to deal with that. And no stress. I got new gaskets for my intake anyway. Let's put some rags in the ports there for the intake, and then give a test shot of air through that riser. Cross our fingers and hope that it's clear. All right, that's good news, having that heat riser clear. That's going to save me some pain of trying to run something through there cleared out. Now my next step is I just got to wrestle with these nuts on the exhaust. Some of them are loose. I'm talking about here and down here. Some of them loosened up okay. Some of them did not. Hey, we had a little bit of success here. I got my old exhaust off, laying on the ground and amongst my mess in here. It's good because I needed to change some gaskets on this thing anyway. But I got all loosened up. I only had to threaten 2 of the bolts with my torch. Actually, I did more than threaten with it. I had to heat them up. A little heat came right off. Got all them off there. Now, hopefully, you guys can see a little bit of my vision here with my header. Okay, so with any luck, this will kind of line up on my J-tube things down here and go in up there. Hey, I think this might work. Ah! This is what I envisioned here. Header, performance, good pipe, exhaust comes out, I can put a stinger, a muffler, whatever, but also heat channel. And I think this actually will flow well because this, I think, is just a normal tube running on the inside of that case there. And then what's going to happen here to make that heater work is it'll come off of here with the hose like it should, and then route it kind of around and plumb it down into there to that. Maybe there's a way I can make that turn a little bit, or I might have to put a dent in it or whatever so it doesn't just lean on there and melt. I think this is possible. Yeah, buddy. I think that's going to work out great. So now what I got to do is kind of put some hardware on here to tie it into place a little bit and see where it's happy riding on all sides here. And then I got to come in here and make a way for this to bolt to here. Remember I told you the J-tubes that came with this header has a bolt connection there, not a slip-on. I actually like this a lot better. This is good with a bolt connection. And I'll probably use like red silicone in there to make it seal real well. But I need a flange there, and they don't just, grow on trees. So I'm probably gonna break out my little welding cutting table and my torch. I already got it handy. And I'm gonna make my pattern off of this, or I might use one of my exhaust gaskets and clean this up. And I'm just gonna plan on getting it all in place, figure out where it's happy, and bolt a flange or weld a flange on there that this will bolt to. So it slides in and then bolts. I think that's gonna be awesome. And then we've got to tackle the heat riser issue. Okay, forgive my mess again, but we've got to recreate this flange for this to bolt to. Thankfully I don't throw anything away. I've got some 3-inch channel laying around, which is the same thickness in the middle there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out of here. Now, my friend Dave would say, bring this over, put it on my CNC machine, and we'll have it knocked out in about no time. But I'm old school. No, and I don't want to have to drive over there and bug him and all that. And I think I can get this done quicker with just my torch staying here at the house. So I'm going to mock it up here, draw it out, hit it with the drill, put my hole in it first, and then we're going to take it over here to a little cutting table and use the oxyacetylene and cut it out, grind it up, clean it up, make it look pretty close, and then it'll be ready to go on the engine. Okay, I think that's what we gotta build. Let's do it. Okay, now we've got to make that clean up and look more like a flange exhaust. Whew, my mess continues. All right, I got my flanges complete. I pulled these tubes off to clean them all up so that I can weld to them. And I'm glad I did, because when I was cleaning them up, this came out of one of them. 10mm bolt, little 1/4 inch extension, jammed somewhere down in there. Now, I could get that part finished up, but I think the next thing I'm gonna do, so I don't have to repeat my work of bolting things up too much, is I'm gonna clean this up on both sides. And I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna cut these off here and this one down here. And then maybe we can see how they can be reused. Well, we're getting there. Man, I'm a mess. Check out, we're getting pretty close on this thing. All right, so I've been doing a little cleaning up on the header itself where it had the other mount mounted, as well as the chopped off the muffler, the pieces we needed, and I've been kind of fitting them in here. So that's fairly close. I got more cleaning up to do, but you get the idea. Can almost get bolts in it. I'll clean it up a little bit more, line it up, go ahead and put bolts on here so it all fits in there and where it slides in and as little gap as possible. And then I'm pretty excited about this piece too, because I had to bend this heat riser up just a little bit to get it to clear here. I might have to ding it a little bit still, but that's pretty cool, right? And see, it almost lines up with that tube. However, the problem is I don't want it to go on this tube, because that's the same tube that it's going to be getting the pressure theoretically from here. Man, I don't know. It might work. I didn't pay attention in thermodynamics, I guess, enough. But I want it to be able to create a vacuum. So pressure here, you know, that's the way it's supposed to work. And then a vacuum, a pull on this side. And if I go off the same pipe, it might pulse it weird. It might not work. So I want to go to a different pipe. So I'm going to try to do a little bending. This thing looks pretty crispy, but I'm going to try to heat it up and bend it a little bit and maybe get some more pipe and get a little stub off of something and either make it come up and come off this pipe somewhere, or probably better suited would be down to join this one. Hey, what's up, guys? We're back at it here another day. I had to quit last night a little bit early, but I got a bunch of stuff kind of tied up before I gave the before I had to run in last night. So let me give you an update where we are. Hopefully we get this exhaust tied in today and, oh man, get this engine together, hopefully in the car. This is the one that I've been spending a bunch of time on, is this piece that I cut off of the old stock VW muffler and been tweaking on it and stretched it out and made it go into where it'll hit this tube really nice. I've got clearance for my pipe, you know, that's going to go up here to the fan for the blower portion. This side, maybe not as much. I might have to dent something or really get to, anyway, we'll figure that out. So this is as good as I could get it. I kind of made it match that bend the best I could. And again, I just did this by heating it up with the old torch and putting it in the vise and just kind of pulling and pushing on it. And it's really good metal because it held up pretty good. It didn't tear, it didn't kink or anything, so it's in good shape. I hit it with the wire wheel, but it still has a lot of patina on it. This is good. I've been test fitting my sheet metal too, making sure it's going to fit in there. And well, there it is. Yeah, it clears, fits in there as well. It clears my header barely, but it clears down there. Fits on the tin and where the other, anyway, it fits. That's been taking quite a bit of tweaking to make sure all that stuff's going to line up in there. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get this in the car. It's time for me to drag out my little welder and do some fiddly little details here. And then we'll wrap this up. All right, we got our welds done on the header. And I am not a good welder, but they're gonna hold, and that's pretty steady. I mean, I'm not worried about it breaking. This one up here as well, and I had to be careful to get all down in there so I didn't have any leaks on both of these. But that's gonna ride. It fits in there really nice. And I patched these up, or patched them up. I welded up these as well, nice and solid, where we're gonna have a good solid seal there. Now the way this thing works with the heat exchanger kind of deal, it blows air in here, so I didn't want it to escape. So I put high heat silicone around the top here where it was open. And that is as bad as it looks. There's no trick photography there. Things got a little out of control, a little out of hand putting it on there. Yeah, so that's ugly. I gotta finish. Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. You know what I'm gonna do about it is nothing. But I need to come up with some kind of gasket for here where these slip on. And I don't want to just have a repeat with the red silicone everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and make some gaskets. I do have a little bit of gasket material. I'll make a gasket that slides right on there. And then probably what I'll do is I'll put some red silicone around it on each one. And then when it slides on there, it'll get a good seal. All right, well, okay, I've been busy working on this, but part of the reason I had to take a little break there because I had an inspector come by, the electrical inspector, and that was a pretty big day because I finally got my rough-in electrical approved for this, the new shop. You guys haven't seen this yet, and it is awesome. But I finally, and it has been a process, got the rough-in done. It is such a pain here in Colorado to add electrical, add an addition. It's a pain. Some of you guys, maybe you guys have done it. Put a comment down below if you guys have done this kind of thing in Colorado and I'm doing it wrong. But anyway, this is it. This is the new shop space. It's 24 by 36 in the big area here, like 14-foot tall ceilings. So I'll have enough room for a lift. You can see the two hot rods parked in here now. That over there is going to be my workshop area, like a 16 by 10 workshop space. 18 by 10 foot door. It'll be set up with an opener here as soon as I can get a sheetrocker in after we do the insulation. Just so much stuff to do, but I'm really stoked to have that electrical inspection done. That's a big process, which is still ongoing a little bit outside because the contractor, really nice guy, dug my ditch to run a new power wire to the house, which was part of the process, and got into my septic leach field. So now we're getting septic repaired. It's a good time. It never ends. The fun never ends around here. Good enough. Cut that bad boy out, arts and crafts style. Now I can try to transfer the hole over. There you go, you get the idea. All right, I got my little gaskets made. That's it, one on each side here. I am gonna help it out with a little bit of red silicone on this just because I don't want it to leak. Knock on wood, I don't intend to take this apart. There it is. Reusing the old hardware on the top, and of course I went down and bought some grade 8 metric hardware. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I got some 5/16 stuff that probably came off of my Jeep project that fit into these new flanges we put in the header. But now it's just a matter of bolting this all up, and this exhaust system will be complete. Well, I think I got her all buttoned up. It is bolted up. I'll tell you, one thing I didn't consider when I put all this stuff together was a gasket. Just the thickness of a gasket there, so kind of do a little creative wedging of things to get in there. But I've got our new flange, which is welded on real good. That is ugly. It's effective though. It's welded on, tied in here. Hopefully we have the old kind of venturi going that'll pull air through that to warm the intake manifold appropriately so this thing will run well and hopefully run well because of this exhaust on there. So this engine's got new intake gaskets, new valve cover gaskets, new exhaust gaskets all around, custom header with the heat chamber still usable, new flywheel, clutch, all in and ready to go. Man, I want to hear this thing run. All right, guys, that's a wrap on this episode of Bad Hombre Garage. Thanks again for following along. We've got this engine ready to go in the car. Today was a pretty good experiment of trying to use an aftermarket header system with stock style heat exchangers for the Volkswagen in an effort to have the engine produce more power and the heater work in the car. Now, is this thing actually going to, will we be able to feel it make more power? Probably not. Is the heat even going to work very well? Probably not. But I'm too stubborn to sit back and just kind of wonder if my ideas will work. I'm going to sit out here and try it, even if that means cutting and welding and fabricating and making it happen. Hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell for the notifications so you know when the next video pops up. Because in the next video, we're going to slide this engine under the car, bolt it in place, and fire it up. You don't want to miss it.